Resource planner Patricia Tomlin is suing her ex-fiancé.
Month.
Oh, I'm sorry. Be March.
And did Mr. Foster move into your home?
He moved into my home.
And who lived in the home?
Myself and my 3 children.
Do you have any children, Mr. Foster?
Yes, ma'am. One son.
That son ever visit? Do you spend time with that child?
Very rarely.
And when did you separate?
Just recently. It was in February.
And when was this alleged car loan?
November 2002.
Tell me about it.
Well, his car, the engine blew in his car. So consequently, I had to take him to work for about 6 weeks. I took him to work in Des Moines. I live in Newton, which is about a 45-minute commute. He knew that I was considering getting a second mortgage to do a debt consolidation. I have a daughter in college. And he asked me what I thought about just borrowing enough money to also pay off getting the engine fixed in his car.
And you did?
Yes, ma'am. I sure did.
And you did? Okay. So?
We got his car back. Everything seemed to be going pretty smoothly until I come home to an email that I found on the computer one day. And I would like you to see it.
Sure.
This is why I asked him to leave my house. It's very disgusting. And I found out that he was seeing somebody that he had met on the internet.
So you asked him to leave?
Yes, I did. You notice there's a phone number on that she gave him, and I called the phone number. I was furious. She answered, and I said, I know you don't know who I am, but I said, I found my fiance's email, and his name, I told her, and I said, is he on his way there? And she said, well, yeah, he should be here in a few minutes. I called Dale on his cell phone, and of course he denied everything until I read him the contents of the email and that I had called this person. And then of course he started to backpedal, and he says, oh, Mom, I'm coming home. I'm turning around, coming home. He was supposedly on the way to visit his mother. Then he had the nerve to tell me, Your Honor, that it was my fault that he was messing around because I spend too much time with my kids, that I'm too involved with them and there's not enough time for him. I mean, I'm still very upset about this. I just feel like I've just been played here tremendously, and now I've got this huge debt and he's got a car that he's driving around and with new tires on it and his stereo, and so.
Okay, let's hear what Mr. Foster has to say.
When we, back in August, we decided we would refinance, and I would take some out of my thrift savings plan. She would refinance her home to clean up the debts between us. That way, when we actually got together, our finances would be in order.
August of what year, sir?
2002.
So in August of 2002, you took out some money from where?
From thrift savings plan, government equivalent to a 401k.
And what did you do with the money?
I cleaned up a lot of my debts, and I set about $4,500 aside to take care of the engine of my car.
Yes.
But as time progressed and the car wasn't finished yet, we started chipping away at the...
Chipping away how?
Oh, we took a small vacation to Lake Okoboji, her and her 3 kids.
Yes.
And then we we went to Branson for a week.
Yes.
And there were some other debts that I had.
Did you discuss with Ms. Tomlin that you were using your car money for those trips?
No.
So how was she supposed to know that? So let me understand this, Mr. Foster. When you took out the money from your 401k plan to pay off your bills, those were your bills, not her bills. Is that right?
That's right.
Well, that's what I'm asking you, Mr. Foster, because in your answer, you seem to indicate that it was for joint bills, but they were not. So you took out money and you paid for your bills. I'm just curious, what bills did you have?
Just different things on my credit report. I had a problem with the bank. It had to be paid off.
How much?
$1,500.
How much did you take out?
$15,000.
What'd you do with all the money? $1,500 isn't $15,000.
There were other bills that had come up, different car bills, a bounce check here or there.
How old is your son? How old is your son?
5.
You pay child support?
No, the mother refuses child support.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So if you took her on 2 vacations in 3 years,
Your Honor.
assuming that it's true, total support, 2 little vacations, right?
And later today,
$5,000 for what?
For the abuse, the damage to the property that I'm being sued
Just a
for.
second,
He
Miss
needs
King.
to be a man and stand up for his
Pay attention to me!
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Tomlin says she ended her engagement with Ernest Dale Foster when she caught him cheating. She is suing for unpaid loans.
So give me a reason, Mr. Foster, why you should not pay Ms. Tomlin the money that you blew on a variety of other things other than your car engine.
We had gone on the trips, we had spent money.
Well, let me ask you this question, sir. Did you pay mortgage expenses when you lived in the house?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay?
Usually half my paycheck, $300 to $500.
And you paid that religiously for the 3 years that you lived together?
No, the first year I had just come out of a bad divorce and a bankruptcy, so
You paid nothing.
nothing the first year.
And in year 2?
Sporadic.
So basically you were living rent-free for the first at least year and a half that you were living there.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you took her on 2 vacations in 3 years, you'd figure that you're still ahead of the game,
Your Honor.
even if it was true. I'm just asking, assuming that it's true, Ms. Tomlin, but assuming that what you tell me is true, she supported you for a year and a half, you got a job, you were making some money, you took her on 2 vacations. Total support, 2 little vacations, right?
Caught? No.
So when are you going to pay her back the money?
I don't know.
Try now. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,800. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. You have no idea what it made me feel like because I have supported him for so long.
Man walks in, man gets hammered.
And then to find out that this was going on behind my back.
Model Amanda Van Geertree is suing the father of her child, retail clerk Robert Harris, for smashing her car window with his fist, injuring their daughter.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 274 on the calendar in the matter of Van Geertree versus Harris. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Van Geertree, you and the defendant have a child together. The child is a couple of years old. It is your complaint that about 2 years ago, there was an incident with Mr. Harris, and you haven't been together since that incident, according to you. And there was an argument. You got into your car. Your daughter was in the car. It is your claim that Mr. Harris purposely broke the car window, causing the window to shatter all over you and your daughter, caused her to be injured, caused you to be injured, and caused the car to be damaged. Is that your complaint?
As a result of him hitting the window, it happened.
Mr. Harris says that the whole incident was your fault. What happened was an accident. He would never intentionally try to hurt his child. And this lawsuit is motivated by something entirely different. Is that right, Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Okay. So I want you to tell me how old your daughter was 2 years ago when this incident happened.
11 months old.
Tell me about it.
When we were walking back to go to the washrooms.
Just a second. I don't know washrooms. Where were you?
What
were you
at a
doing?
company picnic. And we were going to the washrooms, and his sister's ex-husband or somebody that he wasn't happy with was going to pick up the baby and stopping us and everything, and he went on walking and left me standing there giving me a dirty look that this person was holding our child. And I noticed he was drinking hard liquor, and he would not come out, and when he did come out, I said, I want to leave.
You're going all over the place. You were at a company picnic, you decided you wanted to leave.
I'm nervous right now.
Okay.
Sorry.
You were at a company picnic, you decided you wanted to leave.
Yes.
What happened when you told him you wanted to leave?
He started yelling at me to give him the keys, and I was saying, no, I want to just go and get away from this situation because I see you're drinking. I'm just leaving. I want to take the baby and go home. And he said, give me the keys, give me the keys.
What keys?
The keys for the apartment. I was staying with him at the time. I gave him the keys back, and I was going to leave. He was telling me he wanted cigarettes that were in the passenger side seat, and he was pointing to them when the windows were up and I was going to pull out. And I said, no, you're not getting it, and I was going to drive back.
Okay, so he saw cigarettes that were in the car.
Yes.
That were his, and he said, I want them.
They were mine.
They were yours.
They were mine.
But he said, I want them.
Yes. Some
And
cigarettes.
you said you're not going to get them, and you started to
He
leave.
said no through the window, and I started pulling out, and that's when he went like this
And he
hit my
slapped-
car. I don't know if it was open hand or what. He went like this with the anger face. I looked at his face, And that's when the glass shattered.
Glass on which window?
On the passenger side front window next to me. Shattered in like 1,000 pieces. And I turned around. I was wearing glasses at the time, so it didn't get me. It got my arms a little bit, but not bad. I looked back, and my baby was bleeding really bad. And I couldn't help but be hysterical. And he threw the keys, and I was trying to run him back to get the baby out of the car seat. And I was screaming, she's bleeding, she's bleeding. He just kept on walking away. And he didn't care. He just went over to the side.
Okay. You got the baby out of the car seat, right?
Yes.
And the baby went to the doctor or hospital?
I signed a waiver not to have the ambulance in Itasca, Illinois, to take the baby. I was taking her to a hospital by my mom's house, and I rushed her to the hospital there.
In your car?
In my car, yes.
So you got the glass, you cleaned the glass up?
I couldn't clean it all up. They tried while we were in the ambulance.
Okay, where was he?
He was being taken by the police, talked to, and put in the police car. I have police reports.
Can I see the police reports, please?
On the right side is this police report. This previous police reports of his battery was on the left. And I have doctors.
I just want to see this incident. Okay, when your daughter was ultimately taken to the emergency room, she needed some stitches according to your complaint. Is that right?
Yes.
Can I
have
see?
that, please. But, I mean, doctor's records and bills. The bills are in the front, and the old papers, the doctor's forms at that time were in there from the stitches being put in and removed.
Okay, did you pay these bills?
No, I wanted him to be responsible for them.
Did you pay the bills?
No,
The answer is no. Do you have any insurance?
No, I don't.
Okay, Mr. Harris. I'll hear you, sir.
All right, on July 7th, my mother had a company picnic, and I was with Amanda, and we went, and I saw my sister, and we said hello to my mother and everyone as they was playing bingo. I told Amanda I had to go to the washroom, and she wanted to come with me, and I had, of course, my daughter, okay, and I met with my sister and her brother-in-law as we was going towards the washroom, and Tommy saw my little daughter, and he went to grab her, and they was talking. So I said I had to use the washroom. I don't want to stay and wait, and you know that was my brother-in-law. I don't have nothing against my brother-in-law to watch my daughter, or to be with my daughter while I go use the washroom. She stayed over there arguing with them, saying that
she wanted to leave.
Right, she wanted to go to the washroom.
She
She wanted to go to the washroom too. That's what I'm saying. So I had to go. I wasn't going to wait for her. I left and went to the men's room. All of a sudden, I come out of the washroom and she said, "Why you leave me out here?" You know, yelling this. I want to go home. You son of a goo. You know what I'm saying? All type of curse words. So I'm like, I went in there with my nephew. I could see if I was in there with another girl, you acting like this. You know, then she's like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. So we was walking out to her car, and I told her to hand me my house keys. Because I feel like I don't want her going in my house, because she went in my house on one incident and took some stuff out of there that, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, no, give me my house keys. She didn't want to do that, so eventually she gave the keys. And as I went around, I seen my cigarettes on my side, where I was pointed at my cigarettes on the passenger side. And I said, man, I want my cigarettes. She said, no, no. And I said, man, give me my cigarettes. She said, no, you son of a, you know, once again. And she put the car in reverse, and I seen her feet was about to step on the paddle. So I jumped back. And when I jumped back, I had a bracelet on it, and that hit the window. It hit a metal piece on it, and it hit I guess it hit the center of the window, and it broke the glass. I was in shock. And at the time, I didn't know my daughter was bleeding until I walked around, and my sister said, Bobby, your daughter bleeding. I said, what?
Okay, I got it. I got it. Do you visit with your daughter, sir?
Yes, I get her every other weekend. And it was supposed to be during the summer. Right now, I'm going for full custody of my daughter.
Why is that?
Amanda has a serious drug problem, and she even tried to commit suicide just over a year ago by trying to OD. And actually, she's very unstable. For the time that I've known her, she always have excuses of why she can't get things done. She
have a drug
right
problem?
No.
That drug problem, Your Honor, left my daughter in DCF care about 5 or 6 several times. And every time.
Your daughter ever been in foster care?
No.
Because
ever been out of your custody?
No.
Yes, she had. When she tried to kill herself, I got custody of my daughter.
For a couple weeks.
That was like for a whole month almost. This happened in 2001 in February, so I had it like almost up until the end of March.
Okay,
and I took full responsibility. She swears to God that I have a drinking problem, but when I took full responsibility of my daughter, there was no drinking. I was picking her up and taking her, dropping her off to the babysitter, making her work on time, doing a responsible thing.
Did you plead guilty, sir, to disorderly conduct?
Yes, I was acting in a manner of, you know, anger. I was like yelling and stuff like that.
You were?
That's the only thing I played, but I didn't plead on all the other charges was dropped.
Yeah, I don't think you intentionally hurt your daughter, sir.
No, I did not.
I don't think you intentionally hurt her at all. Neither does she think you intentionally hurt her.
No, I didn't try to break that window, neither.
I don't know whether you tried to hurt the window, but you hurt the window, right?
Right, it happens.
Right?
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Well, you mean he was selling drugs or using them?
Well, I saw there was money on her bed, and it was a large sum of money, so I knew he was dealing with it.
So then both of you smelled it and he was selling it, right? Smell and sell.
Yes.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amanda Van Geertree says ex-boyfriend Robert Harris smashed her car window with his fist, injuring their daughter inside. Robert says it was a freak accident.
You've been arrested before for domestic violence?
Yes,
Problem is not an answer.
Yes, I have.
How many times?
Once. Well, twice concerning this window being broke.
Your Honor, I have a picture of my daughter, the scar on her head.
I'm sure
If
Mr.
you want
Harris
to.
knows that there's a scar on your daughter's face. He didn't mean to hurt her. You don't think he meant to hurt her?
No,
Right?
but it is a result of his actions. And
It's a result of
I
his
shouldn't
bad
have to
temper.
pay for his actions.
You shouldn't have to pay for the medical bills that resulted from his actions. Isn't that right, sir?
Well, I feel like, no.
You feel
I
like
mean,
what?
I
Of
feel
course
like,
not. Of course she shouldn't have to pay for the medical bills that are as a result
Well,
of your actions.
Well, as I was telling you, when she put the car in reverse, she was about to, she stormed out, backing up. I had to jump back. That's what caused the window broke. I didn't go up to the window and hit the window at all.
Listen to me. The car didn't hit your arm. Your arm hit the car.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes. It was all a freak accident. I guess you're right, then I should be responsible for paying it,
Okay. I want to tell you something, Mr. Harris. You may be 100% right that you are the more appropriate custodian. You've got a hurdle to overcome, and that is these prior police reports. I'm
Yes.
sure that the judge who's handling the custody case will look at that and
Yes.
balance it with whatever problems you have and make a decision.
I just wanted to say, when she's talking about the medical bills and all that stuff, I'm reliable for that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to get the court to understand that I'm not out there just angry and just doing crazy stuff.
I don't think
You
you're
know what
angry
I
and
mean?
doing crazy stuff. I think you lost your temper.
Yeah.
Your Honor,
I think you lost your temper, and that's what happens when you lose your temper. You're responsible for what happens as a
Okay.
result of that.
but Your Honor,
What?
about the 2 years, and what about the pain and suffering for Olivia, having to go for stitches and me having to hold her down and just
What about
for
that?
2 years having to go to court?
What about that?
Because missing work because of him.
You break.
Thank you.
He's the father, just like you're the mother. There was an accident. It was caused by his bad temper. You don't bring the father to court because, let's say she was riding a bicycle. He was teaching her how to ride a bicycle, and he wasn't careful. And as a result of that, the bicycle went over, and she broke an arm. You think you can bring the father to court for the broken arm because he wasn't careful, because he was negligent in teaching how to ride a bicycle? We'd be in court all the time. That's what happens to young children. Now, this unfortunate incident happened because he lost his temper. That doesn't mean you bring a father to court for pain and suffering for a daughter. She's not any more your child than she is his. Do you understand that?
He didn't.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,111.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I guess now, by hearing Judge Judy ruling, I am kind of responsible for it.
I believe that this judgment was wrong. I think I should have gotten more.
I got a little daughter by, a lady that's not stable, has a drug problem.
He didn't care. He walked away when she was covered in blood.
And right just before the show, she called me talking about she hoped that we can come out here and get things back together. And now she want to come here and cry and make me look like an angry person.
He just wants to hurt me some more. It won't stop.
I think that's what's wrong, but that's how she is.
Gail Nelson and her daughter Jennifer Nelson are suing 25-year-old business analyst Kevin Harrell for destroying the paint job on their 9-day-old car.
Where were you on the 4th of July of last year, sir?
I was at a party with a friend, at a friend's house.
You were all in the backyard.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
You were lighting fireworks.
No, ma'am, that is not correct.
You were not lighting fireworks.
No, ma'am, and I have a witness that can attest to that fact.
You were never lighting fireworks.
That's correct.
Okay, good. Then, Miss Nelson, it is your claim that the defendant, while at a party at a neighbor's house, was lighting fireworks, and the fireworks sparkled over that he was lighting and damaged your car. You want Mr. Harrell to pay for the damage to your car.
Yeah. That's correct.
Sure. That is your signature on the answer, sir. I'd like you to leave that with Mr. Harrell over there, please.
Thank you.
Who's going to speak?
I'm going to speak first.
Fine.
On approximately 11 o'clock on July 4th, 2002, I heard fireworks going on near my home, and I went to investigate, and when I did, I went to look out the sliding glass door, which is my den, facing the street, and the driveway where the car was parked, the 1998 Ford Taurus that we are saying has been damaged. I saw fireworks coming down over the car, and I looked to see where the fireworks were coming, and they were coming a couple of doors down from my home. I have a picture that you can see where the fireworks were coming from.
Are you behind the fence or in front of the fence?
My house is in front of the fence,
okay,
and the fireworks were coming from behind the fence.
Okay.
And I also want to add, at the time that the fireworks were being shot, that tree that you see was in bloom. And the fear of that tree being caught on fire that close to our homes was also causing me to be very worried that, you know, a fire could catch onto my house.
Who was the neighbor?
The neighbor, his name was... I want to give you a sheet of paper that he gave me his name, address, and phone number on, and also is standing by a phone right now if Judge Judy would like to call him, and he will confirm that Kevin Harrell was at his home and he was the one shooting the fireworks.
Just tell me what you saw.
Okay.
May I see the picture that she gave you?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. What I saw, I walked over, I am disabled, I walked over to the house, and when I got to the door, Kenneth McLemore identified himself, and his girlfriend was there. And the
door inside?
Inside, yes.
They were inside?
They came to the door, they were inside. When I told them what was happening, they apologized, and they said they would go and tell Kevin to stop shooting the fireworks, and apologized for it, and said that they had told him not to shoot the... Okay, seriously, I'm sorry. Okay, so I walked back, as I was walking back to my house, another set of fireworks went off at that time. I hollered to my daughter. She ducked because they were coming on top of her and the car. So I went into the house, called the police, and the policeman arrived, and here's his name and the police report.
Can I see the police report, please?
And I'm also providing what the Virginia Beach Code is regarding lighting of fireworks in our area.
You can leave the code there.
Okay.
I'm not
I'd like to
interested
see
in
a
the
copy of
Virginia
that
Beach
police
Code.
report, because the officer,
Can I
when
see
we
the
spoke
police
to him,
report,
said
please?
there was no report being filed due
Can
to
I
the
see the
fact
police
that
report,
there was no
please?
damage,
Can I
and
see the
also
police
due
report?
to the fact that there was
Tell him to
numerous
be quiet,
fireworks being
please.
lit off in the area.
I'm not paying attention to him. When it's his turn, he can speak. Try to explain that to him. Bird, would you explain that to him? That when it's his turn, when the judge looks at him and asks him a question, he can speak.
Watch her. Speak when spoken to. You're going to be all right.
Yes, sir.
My man.
Thanks, Bird. Next.
When the policeman came, he went over to the house to discuss the issue of them shooting the fireworks off. After the policeman walked back to my house, Kevin and Kenneth and I think another friend of theirs came over, and Kevin said, "Let me see what damages I did. I didn't do any damages." And he looked at the car and he said, "That's just dust on the car." My daughter then said,
The dust was multicolored. It was red, white, blue, black, orange specks all over the car. So it wasn't not dust, it was ash.
Well, covered with ash doesn't necessarily mean that the car was damaged. That means it was dirty. If it caused damage, I'm going to see that in a minute. But first, I have to determine if there is any liability on his part.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Mr. Harrell, I want you to read to yourself the answer that you filed in this case.
Yes, ma'am, it's accurate.
I want you to direct my attention to the answer, which is lengthy, where you say, "I was not firing off any fireworks that evening." Just point to the line. Bird, would you go over to Mr. Harrell, please, so that it'll be easier for me to follow. Mr. Harrell is going to point out to you the line where he says, which would be, of course, the most important thing in his answer, "I was not lighting any fireworks that night."
Your Honor, this deposition...
Just point to the line, Mr. Harrell.
It's not here, Your Honor.
That's right. It sure isn't. Thank you, Bird.
Finished.
Yeah, we're finished. Now, Mr. Harrell, common sense would indicate that if you are accused of a crime, the first thing that you say is, "I did not do anything. I did not carry the gun. I did not use a knife. I did not light any fireworks. I did not hit the car.
Right, I understand that.
There was no damage. It was just dust.
Your Honor,
We
I
said,
have a witness that was
speak
present.
not, sir. I'm not interested in your witness because I'm not quite sure that your witness at this time wants to fall into my mouth. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you lie in court, you're supposed to be consistent. Otherwise, you're going to have somebody make a fool out of you.
And later today,
she induced me to accept her to pay these things. She didn't want me to go back to work. She wanted a companion at the time.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gail Nelson and her daughter Jennifer claim Kevin Harrell is responsible for ruining their car's paint job. The women say Kevin was shooting off fireworks in the direction of their vehicle.
When somebody is filing an answer where he says not guilty, he's saying not guilty because I didn't do it. Not guilty because there wasn't any damage. Do we understand each other?
Your Honor, that statement notwithstanding, if you do continue to read my statement in regards to the damage and the conversation interaction I had with the plaintiff, as well as the interaction I had with the police officer came over after we had already gone to Miss Nelson's house. There was 5 of us, all carrying flashlights, along with both of the plaintiffs looking at the car, okay?
We're not at damage, sir. We're at liability.
I understand. Your Honor.
I'm not at the damage part yet, sir.
Understood.
Well, then let's stick to the liability. There are 2 parts to a lawsuit, liability and damage. I don't get to damage until I reach liability. You just skipped right over liability in your answer and went right to damage, which strikes me as being you were liable, but there was no damage. Do we understand each other, Mr. Harrell?
I believe so, Your Honor.
You don't want to just hop in here, do you?
No, ma'am.
Smart girl. Now let me see a picture of the damage to the car, please, and the estimate.
Your Honor, can I see the initial picture that the plaintiff presented to you?
Now, I promised that you could do that, sir, so I'm going to show you that, and I'm also going to show you the police report.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, I'd like to point out one key feature that's missing from this picture, and that would be the fact that at the time of the alleged incident, the car in question was parked directly under this tree, which, as the defendant stated, was in bloom. The damage, so-called damage, was actually droppings from the tree. When we went over, I literally was able to wet my finger and remove it. Miss Nelson, having seen this, said, well, okay, someone needs to come wash my car tomorrow. The host of the party agreed. The following day, she said she changed her mind.
Mr. Harrell, we're not there, sir.
Sorry, Your Honor.
I first have to make a judgment that you were responsible for the fireworks. I believe you were. Now the question is, am I satisfied that the car was damaged? I would like something, them to point out something to me.
Your Honor.
In this paper that they just gave me where it says, what's wrong with the car? I'm missing it, and there are 5 pages there, so just find it.
It says that they would have to wet sand and buff the right side of the car, and they would have to polish for the buffing and clean up after the buffing. They gave us the prices of what would have to be done.
So it's really just having your car Simonized and buffed, is that right?
That is correct.
Mr. Harrell, you're much too old to be playing with fireworks, sir. And if you play with fireworks and if you cause damage to somebody's property, even if it's just annoying damage that requires that car to be Simonized, you're supposed to accept responsibility. If you lie in court, you're supposed to be consistent. So if your story is that you didn't have fireworks in your hand, you're supposed to remember that. You're supposed to remember from the time you file your answer to the time you actually testify. Otherwise, you're going to have somebody make a fool out of you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $205. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If she needs money that bad, get off welfare. Get a job. That's what the rest of us do.
I am not on welfare. I am on permanent Social Security disability.
So I hope she enjoys her $200. Maybe she can get her hair done or, you know, slim fast or something. We'll see.
I said, why would you want to pay court costs? This is a very black and white situation. And he said he thought it was frivolous.
Bottom line is, Miss Nelson wants something for nothing.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hall versus Carlton, step forward, please.
Registered nurse Cynthia Hall is suing artist Della Carlton for the money she paid to have a mural painted. Cynthia says Della did a poor job.
Ms. Hall, you hired the defendant to paint a mural in the nursery, in your baby's nursery.
Yes, Your Honor.
Paid her $200.
Yes.
She painted the mural. You say it was less than quality work. You want your money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it says she did a reasonable job, and you're entitled to nothing. How did you find the defendant?
I went to a local baby store called Gore's in Sacramento, and they had a portfolio of her, and she really had a really nice portfolio there. So I was kind of at the end of my pregnancy and really wanted to get someone to do the mural for me right away. So.
And in her portfolio, did it list references?
I didn't see any references.
Did you ask her for references?
No, I didn't.
And she came to your house?
She came to my house.
First you called her on the phone?
Yes.
Did you set a price with her on the phone?
Over the phone, we didn't really set a price. She actually came out, and I kind of discussed with her what I was wanting, but no price was set over the phone.
And so you discussed price when she came out to the house?
Yes.
And she was going to charge you?
Originally, I told her $300 for the labor.
And then?
Then later I realized I hadn't told her that I usually got $30 for supplies. So the total cost, I priced it at $330.
Okay.
And then she told me that she was on a limited budget and that she didn't want to spend any more than $200, including supplies. So I agreed to that, and I came out to her house and did the artwork.
And how long did it take you?
4.5 hours plus.
Okay, can I see the picture of what you did?
Yes, Your Honor. What I have here is her photos. I have the photos from Gore's because she did the bathroom there, a mural in the bathroom at Gore's.
I'm not interested in the photos from Gore's. You made the selection. You selected her as an artist. That's your problem, Miss Hall.
Okay.
And she painted on the wall these little butterflies?
Yes, they're about 6 inches. She stenciled them. I was not expecting those things. I was actually expecting her to give me something more three-dimensional, something that I could actually kind of come to life. I asked for a dragonfly in specific.
Upside down, that looks pretty good to me. She did all these flowers here?
Yes.
Looks lovely.
You can see the eraser marks that kind of still showed through. After it dried, it really, really showed through.
Listen, you didn't pay for a $5,000 Picasso, madam. You paid $200 to spruce up your baby's nursery. It looks like she did an absolutely fine job. Baby fine?
Baby's fine.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
Looks around at the flowers?
Baby looks around at the flowers.
Very good. If you don't like the flowers, paint over them.
But pencil marks showed through.
You paid $200 for this artwork. You got $200 worth of artwork, maybe a little bit more. Stop complaining. Don't muddle up your life with things that are really unimportant. She came to your house twice. She came first to give an estimate. She gave you an estimate of $330. Then you said, I can't spend more than $200. She said, okay, I'll do it for $200. She came out, she did the work. She was there for 4 hours. Certainly she's entitled to be paid for her labor. You paid her for her labor after the work was done. Is that right?
Yes.
Then later you looked at it and you said, I don't like this. I see a pencil mark. I see a smudge. I see an eraser mark.
That's because after it dried, it really showed through. You could see all
I want to tell you something. You certainly can't see that from the pictures. All you see from the pictures is lovely, light artwork. So concentrate on important things, not things that aren't important. The case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I did my artwork for her, and it was not unprofessional or any different than I would have done for anybody else.
I don't feel like it was quality at all.
You could see some pencil lines through it.
You can see that it's not quality work.
If you look at my artwork in various places, you can always see a little bit of pencil lines through it.
I called her the next day to come back, and she didn't want to come out and assess it.
We had agreed to 4 hours worth of work for $200.
She charges $50 an hour, and I just don't think it's worth that.
I didn't want to do additional work without getting paid.
I think I'll just go ahead and let my 15-year-old do his work because it's much more professional than what I have there now.
Scott Wilmore and his wife Justina are suing their former tenant, 26-year-old waitress Anna Stevenson, for unpaid rent and bills, damages to the property, and a false arrest. Anna is countersuing for mental distress and for a
All right, there are lots of pieces to this lawsuit, so let me see if I can simplify them. Take one piece at a time. Mr. and Mrs. Wilmore, the defendant was a tenant of yours for a period of time. It is your claim that she owes you for past due rent, that she owes for some utility bills, that she owes for some damage done to the property, and in addition, Mr. Wilmore, that she had you falsely arrested, and you spent a few hours in jail as a result of that arrest, and you want to be compensated for that. Ms. Stevenson says that you actually owe her money. She wants money for mental distress, and she wants all of the rent that she did in fact pay you during the course of her tenancy, because she says the property was substandard. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. When did...
Yes.
When?
She actually moved in on February 21st.
Can I see the lease? Is that the lease that you have?
On February 2nd.
All right. Term of the lease shall be for 6 months, commencing on February 7th. You moved in February?
Yes.
And when did Miss Stevenson move out?
She moved out on June 3rd.
And this is her final notice that she pinned to the door.
I didn't ask anything. So, you moved out on June 3rd?
Yes, I did.
The rent, according to the lease, was $1,000 a month, and she was to give you $2,000 security deposit. Did she ever give that to you?
Yes.
Okay.
She gave us $1,750. She never gave us the $250 that was still due on the deposit.
Okay, so she gave you $1,750. Did you pay February's rent?
I paid from the 21st of February to the 28th, $250.
Okay, was that your agreement?
No.
No. This lease starts February 7th.
There is a 2-week delay because we were finishing construction.
So she couldn't move in.
No.
All right, so then she's correct that she gave you $250. So that.
But that was not the deposit. The deposit.
I'm not talking about the deposit. I'm talking about for February's rent.
Okay.
Pay attention, because this is an intricate case, and I don't want to have to repeat myself. Put your hand down. March. Did you pay rent in March?
I paid rent in April for March.
How much did you pay in April?
500 plus 965, 1465.
How much did she pay in April?
When we came back, she said that due to the...
Listen to me.
All right.
Forget it.
How much
Can't
did
do it
she
this.
actually
I
pay?
can't do it this way.
Okay, do it your
In
way.
the 6 months, she should have paid $6,000 in rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much did she pay? How much did you pay in the 6 months?
$3,250.
And that's with or without the $1,750?
Including.
Including the $1,750?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you lived there for 4 months. You moved out.
I lived there 3 months and...
Some days.
Almost 2 weeks.
Well, then that's a whole month.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
The lease is from February 7th to July 7th. Although it says 6 months, it was signed for 5 months. When I brought it up to Mr. Wilmore, he said it's because they're having house guests.
It says it's a 6-month lease, but I miscalculated the months. And so it says from February through whatever it was. And it actually...
Whatever, I'm going to resolve that in her favor. I see exactly what you mean.
All right.
It says the term of the lease shall be for 6 months, commencing February 7th and ending on July 7th. That's 5 months.
Right.
Right.
There's more to this story.
I don't care. Listen, I don't plan on making this a whole day affair. This
All
is
right.
not the Scopes trial. You say she damaged the premises.
Yes,
How did
Your
she
Honor.
damage the premises?
She left boiling water on a wood parquet floor.
Show me. How do you leave boiling water on a wood parquet floor? I
You
don't
let it overflow a boiling pot, and then, I don't know, maybe wake up an hour later and turn the pot off.
What is this white thing? Is this the stove?
Yes.
Yes.
Stoves and I aren't friends. I usually can't identify them unless I see the whole thing.
Martha Stewart's available.
I have a large sign in my kitchen, and you know what this large sign says? Martha Stewart doesn't live here. Would you give this to the defendant and show the defendant?
She says the nicest things about you, Your Honor.
I think she's wonderful. You know, she does her thing. I'll do mine. How'd that happen?
Well, over
Not
time...
a well. Well isn't an answer. Let's have
Over
it.
time, because he had sawed off part of a countertop and put it into a new place right next to the stove and left a gape, half an inch, quarter an inch. Over time, I did see the swelling. He talked with the contractors. I was present to make note that there was swelling. But in my opinion, I did the best thing I could, cleaned up everything.
There, by you, that it boiled over on the floor, causing
Absolutely
this?
not.
Absolutely not. And this, what you're showing me, listen to me carefully, what you're showing me is under
The stove.
the stove? Get it. Now tell me about this false arrest.
One day the sheriff's office arrived at my door and told me that I was under citizen's arrest. When I asked them what for, they said they couldn't disclose. It was a citizen's arrest, and that they made it quite clear that it was not their arrest,
It was by a citizen, this citizen.
not them.
Well, right. And it's clear that Miss Stevenson did, in fact, cause you to be arrested. So I think I'm going to let her tell me the story. Go ahead, madam.
I was greeting a neighbor across the street in the front of in the front of my unit, the back of their apartment. A neighbor that they have a mutual restraining order against. The plaintiffs had put my name as a protected person in a restraining order that they filed against my neighbor. I went to the court system, put a declaration on a penalty of perjury that I did not give them consent to be a protected person. However, this person is my friend. I ran across the street, went in his house actually for the first time, saw that he was a little ill, talked with him for maybe 5 minutes.
You're distracting me.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had him violated on the temporary order of protection. Is that right?
I went down to...
Is that right? Based upon that statement. I read your answer, madam. Don't fool around with me.
And later today,
It's like a $2,000 TV, and 2 weeks later, we get into some kind of argument. She says she wants to break up. I said, I want my TV back then. She goes, no, tough luck.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Scott and Justina Wilmore claim former tenant Anna Stevenson owes for unpaid rent, damages, and for a false arrest. Anna says Scott violated her restraining order.
Go ahead.
My friend Michelle was waiting downstairs for me. I ran across the street, went up to my unit. Mr. Wilmore was on his upper deck patio and said the sheriffs are on their way. And I said, I know, I didn't just hear you talk to me.
Why did you, just a second. I don't have a restraining order. You got a restraining order against him?
I have a restraining order against Mr. Wilmore.
For what?
For harassment, for peeping.
What kind of harassment?
First of all, he...
Let me see a copy of the restraining order.
Peeping Tom, ma'am. I caught him in my... crouched down in a small window,
Your Honor,
peering
if you were
through
married
my...
to this one, would you...
Now, listen to me. Listen to me. Mr. Wilmore,
I'm sorry.
you're making it very difficult for me to concentrate on this case.
Okay.
I want you to understand that. Now, I know that you and your wife don't want me to make it difficult for me to concentrate on this case, but talking to each other, looking through your papers, is not helping me.
Okay.
Okay. What was the date, by the way, that he allegedly violated this protective order?
The date I had him arrested, 5/20.
What was the date?
5/20.
And you had gotten this on May 7th?
Correct.
It was continued on your request until the 22nd of May. Is that right?
That's right.
Why was it continued?
Because Mr. Wilmore asked for a continuance.
He actually appeared?
He did the first
time and asked for a continuance until the 22nd. Is that right, sir?
Yes.
No, I'm sorry.
Quiet!
It's not, because... the
Listen to me.
continuance was in my
Just be quiet. And 2 days before you were scheduled to go back to court, Mr. Wilmore said to you from his balcony, I've just called the police.
Yes, ma'am.
And based upon that, you had him violated on the temporary order of protection. Is that right?
I went down to...
Is that right? Based upon that statement, I read your answer, madam. Don't fool around with me. Based upon that statement, the sheriffs are on their way. You had him violated for talking to you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, that's right.
Good. How many hours did you spend in jail?
4.5.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Wilmore?
I used to do software, now I restore houses.
Charged by the job or you charged by the hour?
Currently, it's by the job.
Is this the first time you spent any time in jail? Want to answer that question? What are you looking it up for?
It's not, I don't remember. I don't think so. I mean, I visited, yes.
I don't know what that means, Mr. Wilmore.
Driving infractions.
Driving infractions. Anything other than driving infractions,
No.
sir? Okay. So far, she owes you $1,000 in rent. That's what I figured so far. And I haven't gotten to her counterclaim yet. I haven't gotten there yet. She also owes you $500 for the aggravation of you spending time in jail, because I think that it's outrageous that she had you arrested for saying to her the sheriffs are on their way. Outrageous! An abuse of the system, an abuse of sheriff's time, an abuse of everybody's time, just nothing but retaliatory being nasty. It's going to cost her $500. All right, now we're going to get to your side. You're suing for mental distress and a refund of all the rent that you paid to the plaintiff. So let me explain this to you, Miss Stevenson. I believe people have free will and free choice. I don't want to hear that the apartment was substandard, because you live in a free country, and if you don't like the accommodations, you move out. Do you understand? Yes. So now you can tell me about the mental distress.
Okay, the mental distress was endured for multiple entrances by the plaintiff without notice or consent, barging in at any time, day or night, having workers illegal at that, entering my unit without consent or notice.
Move.
Move? I did.
Good. That's what you do. You move. And you don't wait 4 months to do it. Counterclaim is dismissed. On your claim, I'm awarding you $1,500. It's $1,000 for rent and $500 for the 4 hours that you spent in jail and her ridiculous complaint. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's a good judge.
I'm just so thrilled that it's over.
I respect what she had to say.
It's been a nightmare, and I'm just happy that she's out of our life.
I respect the way she handled their behavioral patterns.
She was a tenant from another planet.
Never trusted all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brown versus Knox. Step forward, please.
College professor Daniel Brown is suing his former student, 22-year-old Rebecca Knox, for a class trip to Europe.
Do you have a PhD?
No, no, ma'am.
So you are Mr. Brown?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Brown, you are a professor?
Yes.
At the college level?
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant was a student of yours?
Correct.
According to you, you made a loan to her in order to enable her to accompany you last year, along with some other students, on a trip to Europe.
Yes.
And she has not paid you back.
Correct.
Ms. Knox acknowledges that you gave her the money for the trip. She said there was never any agreement to pay you back, and it was a gift.
Totally untrue.
Just a minute. Is that your defense?
Correct.
No. You acknowledge that he gave you this money?
Correct.
When did he give it to you?
I believe it was in February of 2002.
I want you to tell me, the circumstances surrounding him giving you this money.
As he had said, he takes a group of students each semester across the seas to different locations in Europe.
Okay, how many students does he take?
It depends on how many are actually interested in going.
How many were interested in going on the trip that you went on?
We had 5 girls and 1 boy, so there were 6 of us.
Okay, so tell me what happened in February.
I had actually expressed interest in going. The trip was...
What do you mean you expressed interest? What does that mean?
The trip was to Ireland, England, and Scotland, and I've always wanted to travel. I'm a history major, and England is actually my basis of what my emphasis is going to be. And so I went to his office, and I just asked for a little bit more information about the trip, and I got brochures and the cost and the itinerary. And I took the information home. I looked over it, looked at the money. It was a little bit out of my reach. I didn't have the money saved up quite yet.
How much was the money?
$2,500.
Go ahead.
And
you say you didn't have it saved up yet. Were you saving for it?
I knew he took people on trips, so I had saved up just a little bit of money.
How much did you save?
It was about $300. I didn't know the full cost.
How long was this trip?
It was originally supposed to be for 17 days, and then it got shortened to 11 days.
Okay, well, you didn't think the $300 was going to take you for 11 days?
No, not at all.
Good. So you got the brochures, you looked at it, and you saw that that you didn't have enough money.
Right. So I went to my bank to see if I could actually apply for a loan, and they said that they probably wouldn't be able to give me a loan. And so I went back and talked to Miss Brown about it, and he had...
Well, what do you mean you went back and talked to him about it?
I just talked to him about the trip and said that it was...
You went to his office?
Correct.
So you went to his office, and you said what to him?
And I told him that I'd look into other ways of financing it, as to loans and things like that, and he had mentioned that he might be able to give me the money. And I was, oh, okay, well, that was nice. Thank you. And the next day at class, he handed me a check for $2,500.
And what did you say?
I said, thank you.
Good. Now I'll hear your version of the story, Mr. Brown.
Your Honor, a great deal of what she says is true. The one emphatic word I would leave out would be give. I made it very clear to Ms. Knox it would be a loan. And
tell me what she said to you when she came to your office.
she said she'd like to go. And that she did not. She said she was investigating perhaps going to a bank, perhaps to get a loan. And I happened to know a colleague who also had Miss Knox in class, and I had been made aware there had been a bit of a tragedy in the home. And
in her home?
Well, my understanding is her sister had been killed in an accident. So, kind of, you know, tugged the heartstrings. And so I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. Start making payments once you get back. And I'll forward you the money, because I knew she wanted to go to England and she was very interested, and she'd been a good student. So I said, I'll help invest. In the only regard is I need to get the payments within a certain amount of time when you come back. I have children that are in school and I pay tuition. And she agreed. And Your Honor, if I could, I have the check, February 9th. And on the memo it says personal loan, L-O-A-N.
Mr. Brown, it's a very easy case. I believe you. I don't believe you. Period. End of discussion. I don't see any reason why this man who took 5 people and you on a tour would say to you, I'm going to give you the money. I don't see it. Do you?
I guess not.
I guess not either. So if it doesn't sound right, if it doesn't have the ring of truth to it, it's usually not the truth. How much did you give her, which was a loan, sir?
$2,500.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was a bit of an ordeal to try and get to find Miss Knox.
I just didn't believe I owed him the money.
It was a bad lesson to learn, and unfortunately I'm not going to be able to do this anymore, and bad decision on my part.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Prather versus Price, step forward.
Teacher Mark Prather is suing 13-year-old student Darius Price and his father, Fred Price. Mark claims Darius keyed his car.
Mr. Prather, it is your claim that I assume this young man, whose name is Darius,
yes,
keyed your car.
That's correct.
And so you want his father to be responsible since Darius is a minor. How old are you, Darius?
13 years old.
Tell me where this happened and tell me why he keyed your car.
Your Honor, this happened July 23rd, 2002 on my street, and I had my trunk open. There was a bunch of kids playing, including Darius, who had a big stick and was playing around. He made me a little nervous because he had the big stick. They weren't playing stickball or anything, so I kind of kept my eye on him. The defendant here, Darius, struck up a conversation with me. He said, "Nice car, buddy," and I knew he was ironic, being sarcastic with his tone.
He said, "Nice car, buddy."
Basically.
Go ahead.
I said, "Don't patronize me," and that was the end of that. And then the next morning, my car was keyed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, other than what you've told me, what proof do you have that he did it?
Well, I have I have 2 witnesses here and a notarized statement from a witness that couldn't make it today.
I don't take notarized statements, so I will take a witness if you have a witness here. Who is your witness?
Well, I have 2 witnesses, Deshaun, Joey.
These 2 young men?
Yes.
Okay. Step up, please. Tell me your name.
Deshaun Harris.
Deshaun, how old are you?
12.
And your name?
Joel Simmons.
How old are you, Joel?
10 years old.
Okay, Deshaun. Did you see Darius do anything to Mr. Prather's car?
No.
You did not?
No.
Did you ever have a conversation with Darius about doing anything to Mr. Prather's car?
No.
Did he ever admit to you that he did anything to Mr. Prather's car?
No.
Sit down. All right, Joel, I'm going to ask you the same questions. Did you see Darius do anything to Mr. Prather's car?
Yes.
What did you see Darius do to the car?
He had 5 Cadillac keys, and he scratched up this stolen truck.
Is that your car?
No, Your Honor. There was a black pickup truck that was also keyed that was impounded in the Cleveland impound lot outside. I had pictures. I have pictures of my car as damaged here.
Okay. Joel, did you see Darius key Mr. Prather's car?
No.
But you saw him key a black truck.
Yes.
Did you ever tell anybody else that?
Yes, only my mother and my grandma and my uncle.
So you told your mother that you saw Darius key the black truck?
Yes.
And you're sure that you didn't see him key Mr. Prather's car?
Yes, I'm sure.
Do you know what color Mr. Prather's car was?
It was red.
Is that right?
Yes.
You never saw him go near the red car?
Nope. Because he had a big old stick walking down the street with it. He said he was a bad boy walking down the street.
He was showing off with the stick?
Was a big
Acting foolish?
Yeah.
Sit down. You understand the problem, Mr. Prather?
Yes, I do.
I'm sorry, I can't help you unless I speak to Darius, and Darius tells me that he keyed your car. Did you key his car?
No, ma'am.
Did you key the black car?
No, ma'am.
Well, you think that Joel is lying?
Yes.
No, he's not. What were you doing walking down the street with a stick?
I didn't have a stick. I had a bike chain.
A what?
An old bike chain in my hand.
Well, what were you doing with an old bike chain in your hand?
Because Joey needed a bike chain to fix his bike.
So you weren't walking down the street acting like a big shot?
No, ma'am.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe it's true. Anyway, you have no proof, sir. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's clear he was caught into a lie. He did key the other car because my witnesses saw him do that.
I don't know why he singled me out and there was a whole bunch of boys around this car.
I didn't pick him. He picked me. He created the conversation.
It was upsetting because he said it was a group of people, and he just picked my son out of the group.
I tried to get this taken care of outside of court. Mr. Price did not cooperate.
I'm glad it's over.
Registered nurse Charles Sands is suing his former landlord's girlfriend, property manager Mila Azarovich, for kicking him in the knee.
Girlfriend of your former landlord.
Correct.
And it is your claim that during an argument that took place really between your landlord and you, that the defendant assaulted you, caused you substantial injury, caused you to be seen by a doctor, caused you substantial pain and suffering, and you want to be compensated for that.
Correct.
Ms. Azarovich, is your boyfriend here today?
Yes.
Is that this gentleman right here?
Yes.
Okay. You had been a tenant of his for some time. There had been some problems. You wanted the place painted because you said there was paint chipping. He wasn't responsive to your request. You called the housing department. He was forced to paint. You say in retaliation to that, they moved to have you evicted. You ultimately won a settlement from them. So far, is that generally what happened?
Yes.
Now, the garage space had become an issue. Is that right, Mr. Sands?
Yes.
This is when this altercation took place. Now, Mr. Sands, why don't you tell me the date that this incident took place?
It was on September 7th of 2001.
And tell me what happened.
Miss in excess of 4 years.
Well, do you have a lease?
I do.
And does the lease include the garage?
It wasn't specified.
If it's not specified, it doesn't include the garage.
However, I had been in full use of the garage for the entire term of my tenancy without sharing it with any other tenants.
Listen, if you have a lease that says that you are renting a house and there is another property on that land, some other edifice, and if it's not specified that you have use of that, that your rent also includes that, you're not entitled to it. In any event, they came on the property that you were renting in order to deal with this garage issue. Let's proceed from there.
Okay, well, they proceeded to walk into the garage. I didn't know what they were doing because they hadn't responded to me when they came into the yard. So I followed them into the garage and I asked them what they were doing. And they told me that they were looking at their garage. And I said that you need to have given me 24 hours of written notice to, examine the property.
It's not your property. Garage is not your property. They didn't go into your house, did they?
Well, they went into something that I viewed as being included in the
That's
in the
your
property.
view. That's your view. That's not their view. That's not my view. They don't have to give you written notice of going and looking at their property. What if there was a
Okay.
guest house on your property? A guest house on the property?
According to the officials that I spoke to
I'm
at
telling
the
you,
rent
I don't
control-
believe that. So
Okay.
let's move on.
Sure.
They went to look at their property.
Okay. And I told them that I would have to call the police, which I then did. I went back into the house, and at that point I asked Emily, who's a friend of mine who had showed up to go to this yoga class with me, to bring me out my regular phone. At that point, I dialed 911 on the regular phone. The police came eventually onto the phone. At that point, the landlord and this woman came out of the garage. She saw Emily standing near the house and started screaming at her.
What was she saying?
She said, "Who is this woman? She is not allowed to be on the property. She is not on your lease. Where are your wife and children? And you are a liar," and et cetera, et cetera. At that point, I walked up and stood between the two of them and said, "She is allowed to be on the property. She's my guest, and you can't come and scream at a guest of mine.
Absolutely right.
You need to leave. This is inappropriate." At that point, I felt my arms pulled behind me like this. And I realized that it was the landlord, Mr. Evanson, who had grabbed me from behind. He then pulled my shirt up around my neck and through my mouth and started strangling me. At that point, I became relatively concerned, and I started screaming for help. I continued to scream for help until I couldn't speak anymore. He choked me so forcefully.
Could we move this on a little faster, please?
Sure.
Good.
After that, Mila walked up, and I assumed that she was going to tell him to let me go. But she didn't. She stood at a 45-degree angle to me, and she kicked my right knee in.
That's what we're talking about.
That's what this suit is based on.
Okay. Now, I want you to tell me your version of the events, and please try to do it a little faster.
Okay, this is on the date of September 7, at 6 o'clock approximately. Okay, well, before that...
You get there.
Okay.
You go into the garage.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Sands, he closed the door behind us and turned the lights off and left us in the dark.
Go ahead.
His dog was viciously barking at us.
Where was the dog?
The dog was by his side.
Was the dog on a leash?
No.
Go ahead.
Then he approached me and started threatening me.
What did he say?
Well, he approached me as close like that, you know, to my face, and started threatening me and screaming.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I never kneed him in the groin.
Just a minute. What do you mean you may have injured him?
I was trying to escape by elbowing him.
You're under oath. That's a crocker who shot John.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charles Sands says his former landlord's girlfriend, Mila Azarovich, assaulted him by kicking him in the knee. Mila says Charles kicked her fiancé in the groin.
Go ahead.
Then Lars was concerned about my safety. He circled his arms around Charles Sands.
From the back?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And he's very experienced in this kind of situation, how to handle it in non-violent manner.
He circled him, he immobilized him.
Right.
Go ahead.
At that moment, Charles Sands kicked him in the groin area very hard. The next moment, Charles Sands took a bat in his hand and hit Lars in his face, then in his ribs, and Lars fell on the concrete floor. Rick Sanchez came out. He tried to pull them.
Who is Mr. Sanchez?
Is
he a neighbor?
Yes.
Would you step up, sir?
Sure.
You're Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
How long have you been a tenant?
10 years.
Did you witness any of this altercation?
I did.
Would you tell me what you saw, sir?
On that evening, approximately the same time that both of them mentioned, I had been traveling. I came home, I was laying on my couch, and I heard some screams for